Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Lena, and this is Alex. We are both certified BodyTalk practitioner, and together with our colleague Ricky, we're very pleased to have Sabine Schellerer, Naturopath, joining us today to share her perspective about perimenopause. You are here listening to us because you are seeing one of us for BodyTalk sessions, and BodyTalk is such a great way to support women through perimenopause. It's fantastic to help harness the existing resources of the body, to help it adapt and cope with change, improve some of its function, and also just it's a very supportive way to be with women on the emotional side through change. But it's also so helpful and needed to look at other aspects of health that can complement those sessions, such as understanding what's going on in the body, including what's normal and not, to try to alleviate the stress that can come up also from not understanding what's going on in our body. And sometimes we also need some help and support coming from the external. So it could be looking at lifestyle changes or looking at supplementing. And this is why we're really happy to have Sabine with us today.
Yes, indeed. We're very lucky to have Sabine today with us, and she is a powerhouse in all that is naturopathic therapies, and she's been practicing here since 2016. That said, she started in a career as a practicing pharmacist after receiving her PhD in human biology. During this time, actually, she discovered her passion for botanical medicines and alternative treatments. She then attended courses at the German Naturopathic School, including a postgraduate diploma in alternative medicine. She's always been interested and invested in women's health, particularly in this transitional phase of perimenopause. Sabine, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for this lovely introduction, ladies. Before I start, I need to start with my disclaimer. So this talk is for informational and educational purposes only. So if any of you have a medical condition, please go and see your medical doctor or your healthcare professional. But now let's dive right into the topic. What is perimenopause? Perimenopause is the transitional phase before menopause, when a woman's body gradually shifts toward the end of her reproductive years and the ovarian production of hormones begins to slow down until the ovaries go into retirement after menopause. Perimenopause typically begins in the mid to late 40s, but it can start earlier or later. So this phase can last anywhere from several months for the lucky ones to over a decade, though the average duration is between 4 to 8 years. So perimenopause is a time of transition and rapid changes. Sadly, often in the past, and probably already still today, perimenopause has been misunderstood and it has been overlooked. When you look at our mothers, great-grandmothers and grandmothers and so on, they didn't have much of a voice. It was said, push through. They thought, oh yeah, I suck it up. They were frowned upon, and no one was really interested in their condition and what they are going through. And even today, it's often said, you're just getting older. And it's simplified too often. It's just the hormones. Emphasis on just. Today, we'll explore what's really going on in the body during this time because finally, women start to stand up. They start to question, they start to want to know. So they can feel empowered and not confused anymore. And slowly but steady, more and more research is applied. We know that like research on women's body has been absolutely underrepresented in the past. And this is about to change. And science finally tries to understand what is going on and tries to understand that it's just not only hormones. So there is this common misconception of a slow and gradual decline of estrogen and progesterone during perimenopause. But in fact, it couldn't be much more different here. Overall, it's true, we see a decline of those hormones, but what you tend to see, it has nothing to do with gradual and slow. We see fits and spurts and ups and downs, and both for progesterone and especially for estrogen. And this is what makes the life of so many women so hard, crippling, and unbearable. A lot of women say, oh, I feel like I go through puberty twice. And that's true. It actually, like perimenopause and puberty, look very similar to each other's, because in both ends, there are these fluctuations. And that's the reason why both can feel so similar and so horrible. So the irregularity of production is really the hallmark here, and not just the decline. And I want to emphasize on that very, very much. And whereas progesterone already starts to decline earlier in life and estrogen still goes strong, in perimenopause now, estrogen starts to get frantic. So for example, estrogen rises and before ovulation, it peaks. And then women in perimenopause experience an early ovulation, and then estrogen crashes. And then during luteal phase, it starts rising again and can get very, very high again. And it's never the same. It can be 1 month this picture, and the other month it can be another picture. And because of this irregularity, perimenopause also for us providers is very difficult to treat, because it's this up and down and you never know where you are. So perimenopause is challenging, of course, for the patient, for you guys, and the provider as well. Many women and even providers, professionals, think perimenopause affects only the hormones in the ovaries, and it only affects the reproductive system in our body. But that there is more, much more, because these fluctuations affect the whole body. As practically in every single tissue throughout our organism, we have hormone receptors. And hormones influence each other's a lot. And hormones regulate multiple functions in our bodies. So when they start to decline and they start to slow down, it not only affects our fertility and reproduction, it affects more or less everything. And because of this, not just our reproductive health, as I already said, is affected, but it comes with changes all over the body. Changes in our immune system, a massive shift in our metabolism. Cardiometabolic health is affected. Cognitive health, musculoskeletal health is affected. Gastrointestinal health, skin health, you name them. Everything can be well affected. And then we can't forget our mitochondria. Mitochondria are these little batteries in our cells, powerhouses, which make us get energy, which make us be able to move and to perform. And estrogen is a very, very important kind of cofactor, part of our mitochondrial health. And once it starts to decline, and especially in the second half of perimenopause, mitochondria will take a big hit and they become impaired. So what are the key changes in the body? Sometimes, that's I found very interesting, perimenopause can exacerbate the natural you. So people, for example, who worry maybe even a bit more during perimenopause. Women with PMS might experience even more intense symptoms during this time. So we see menstrual cycle changes, irregular cycles. They can be longer, they can be shorter, they can be heavier, they can be lighter. Anovulatory cycles, so no ovulation means no progesterone is produced, and estrogen dominant symptoms are even like more there. We see cognitive and emotional shifts because of the receptors in the brain, mood swings, anxiety, irritability, sleep disturbances. A lot of women, they have difficulty falling asleep or staying asleep. Metabolic shifts, weight gain is a biggie for a lot of women, especially around the abdomen. So it's this visceral fat, which is like very hard to shake off, even when somebody has the perfect diet and goes to the gym every day. The metabolism slows, changes in insulin sensitivity, even like when before nothing ever was discovered, out of a sudden doctor said, oh yeah, it looks like you are insulin resistant now. Thermoregulation, hot flashes, night sweats, we know about them, fluctuations in body temperature, skin, hair, connective tissue changes, skin becomes drier, thinner, we develop wrinkles, hair thinning, hair shedding, joint aches and stiffness, brain fog, forgetfulness, low motivation, increased sensitivity to stress. So what felt like 10 years ago as like a breeze now is stressful, like all the shopping and the work and the kids and everything to get under the belt seems now to be very, very difficult for a lot of women. Sexual health is affected. Libido it becomes less. Vaginal dryness, discomfort during intimacy, pelvic floor changes. Others can be puffiness around the eyes, swelling of legs and feet and hands. Histamine symptoms in a lot of women get worse, like allergies, sensitivities to food, and other things might get worse. A lot of women experience bloating. Autoimmune diseases might out of a sudden may pop up or get worse, like autoimmune diseases change. GI tract problems, because estrogen is a big influencer of our gut barrier health and GI motility. Lipid profile changes, as estradiol supports a healthy lipid profile. So a lot of women beforehand, cholesterol was fine, LDL, no problem. And out of a sudden, doctor says, oh, your cholesterol is high, even though the diet is perfect and like, nothing wrong there. Blood pressure rises in a lot of women. So even women who had like low blood pressure or normal blood pressure, out of a sudden, like the blood pressure is too high, because arterial health and arterial flexibility is influenced by estrogen. So this all sounds very scary, and this all sounds very kind of, makes us anxious. But we can't forget, and this is no gloom and doom. We can't forget this is all kind of part of nature. And the good news is perimenopause is a really, really terrible and difficult time, but it won't stay like that. I think that's the good news. So once we hit menopause and the hormones are low but steady, a lot will fall into place again. And also, there's a lot we can do as naturopaths, as functional practitioners. There is a lot of help there. So no woman needs to be in pain. No woman needs to be left alone. And like in the old days, what I just pointed out, it was like, suck it up. No way. There is a lot we can do. And also from the positive side, now is maybe a good time to kind of, take a breath and do groundwork and concentrate on fundamental things, because now during perimenopause, our body reminds us there might be little things not like to be too perfect. And maybe it's a good time now to do this work and to look into the so-called root causes. Because one thing is pretty clear. Even though most of us, or probably all of us, included as practitioners, we want simple solution, we want simple ways out, we want the quick fix. But unfortunately, it's more complicated than that. So we have to dig a little bit deeper, and perimenopause is a very, very good time to do that. So in conventional medicine, often just hormones are blamed, and let's do HRT, right? Or insulin resistance is blamed. And then, okay, we can address that. But we can't forget that even though it's kind of helpful, it's a band-aid. Because again, the body is more complicated than just hormones or just insulin resistance. This is like a network, and everything is kind of, works together. So therefore, when like I see my client population, women who come and seek help, especially when it comes to early perimenopause, like in the beginning, root cause finding is the key. And then we can go, once we found the root cause and start working on this root cause, then we can go into regulation. And the root cause, you may ask, what is this? So we would look into gut health, liver health, our adrenals, thyroids, and not to forget the gallbladder. A lot of people talk about liver and gut, but nobody talks about the gallbladder. And gallbladder is really, really important for our hormonal makeup as well. For sure, it is hormones which are the culprits. It's the hormones which like cause all these troubles. But we can't forget that it starts with the hormones, but then it's a knock-on effect involving all these systems which I have just emphasized. And this piece is often not being looked up enough. And most importantly, it's stress. So everybody is stressed. And it's this dysfunction of our HPA axis, which is the biggest root cause for perimenopausal issues. And I found it very interesting to hear that there are studies with women who live tribal and traditional lives, and they also go through menopause, but their period simply stopped. And they don't develop symptoms like us, which cripple them so much. There's nothing to compare to what an average woman in our culture goes through when she goes through this perimenopausal time. And with the stress, we also cannot forget that once we hit menopause and our ovaries are retired, we need our adrenals for hormone production. So already during perimenopause, it's a very good time to work that and prepare the adrenals, as we want to live with a high quality all these years after menopause. And without healthy adrenals, this won't be possible. Now I want to have a few words to the diagnostic part, because perimenopause itself is not easy to diagnose. And we as healthcare practitioners, we should really rely on what the woman tells us. So a blood spot, and this is like what happens to a lot of women who go to see their doctors. They are 42 years old and they start to develop brain fog and pains and all this. And they go to their doctors, he takes blood, and then he says, oh, no, you are not in perimenopause yet. And this is not quite true, because the problem is, first of all, a blood test is only a short snapshot. And on top of this, it wouldn't tell us much, especially during perimenopause, what is going on in the tissues. These are two different things. And so we can't forget that. So that's the reason why it's so important to rely on symptoms and presentation. I like the Dutch test during perimenopause. The Dutch test is a urinary excretion test. And first of all, if any woman is thinking about getting HRT, I think every woman should run a Dutch test, because we want to know what kind of risks we have. Because with hormones, we can't just forget that we have them, but we need to consider as well that they need to be metabolized and excreted. The body detoxes them. And if there are hiccups along the line, this influences the level of estrogens in our body as well. So it's not only important to see what the ovaries make, but also how much and how well are these hormones excreted again. And this is what we can see in the Dutch test. Also, the Dutch test emphasizes a lot on adrenal health, which, as I said before, is such an important part. And it emphasizes as well on the androgenic part of our hormonal makeup in our bodies. So I love this test, and I think it's a very good test during perimenopause. And another one I really like is a genetic test, like a nutrigenomics test on the hormones, because again, we want to know what's going on. We want to see the whole estrogen journey. And we want to see if there are certain hiccups along the way. So we see how well our sulfonation is working, the glucuronidation is working, the methylation is working. There's all these ways the body excretes and detoxes the hormones. And also we can see with a genetic test the sensitivity of estrogen on the receptors, and if there is something kind of maybe what can be supported a little bit. So understanding the journey means we can go with a very targeted manner in terms of treatment. And this is like what a hormone genetic test would show us. And this is good because we only have to do it once. So now let's talk about what can be done. So I talked a lot about what happens, and this is the scary part. And now let's look into how much we can actually do to feel better. Diet and lifestyle is the key, and it should be started every single journey in terms of how to get better during perimenopause should be started with diet and lifestyle changes. So the diet should be anti-inflammatory, so eat the rainbow, eat mostly plants, eat light. Often women don't consume enough protein. So at the moment it's said 80 to 100 grams of protein a day. It's quite a lot. So proteins intake is very, very important, especially during this time. But then if you eat all these proteins, please make sure that they are digested well. Just as a side note. Eat a lot of fiber. 30 grams should be the goal. And most of our Western diet don't have enough fiber content. Fibers are important for our gut health, to feed the microbiome. They are anti-inflammatory. They help with detoxification. They are cholesterol lowering. I talked about the risk of elevated cholesterol during perimenopause and menopause, so it helps with that as well. So sometimes some people whose gut health is not up to the best, the tolerability of fibers might cause problems. So please start low and increase. Don't jump right into the 30 grams, but start low and mix fibers up. So just only chia seeds on every meal, also not such a good idea. We need gut-friendly foods because gut is so important for hormonal makeup and hormonal health. So all the fermented foods, as long as you can tolerate them, the sauerkrauts, the kimchis, I mentioned the fibers already. So all of this, again, plant food is so important for gut health and for our hormonal health. Dairy and gluten, a few words to them. So we know they are inflammatory foods. I don't want to invite every single one to say during perimenopause, everybody needs to be gluten and dairy free. But I think it's worth it to do an 8 weeks trial period to see if you feel better, if things improve, and if they are, dairy and gluten are not your best friend. But if you don't see much of a shift, the needle doesn't move much, you can as well cut down on them. And don't eat your bread every single day. Different story with sugar. I think sugar is bad for everybody, so limit that. Salt, same thing. I talked about the risk of higher blood pressure. So salt is very hidden in a lot of our foods anyways. So to limit salt could be a good idea as well. And then we talk a lot about proteins, and often healthy fats are forgotten. And we can't forget that to make hormones, we need cholesterol. This is like the first building block of hormones. So healthy fats need to be part of every diet as well. And then you have to, of course, distinguish between unhealthy fat and healthy fats. Alcohol and artificial sweeteners, not much to mention there. We should avoid or limit as much as possible. But not only what we eat, but also the quality of food is very important. So please eat organic as much as possible and minimalize processed foods. Whenever you can, try to make your own foods and avoid this processed stuff. Eat early and fast through the night. So we need these kind of overnight fasting periods as long as your blood sugar is able to tolerate that. So the midnight snack, maybe not such a good idea during perimenopausal times. Light. So light, natural light is so important because our circadian rhythm is so important for hormones and hormonal production and hormonal health. So rule of thumb, watch the sunrise, watch the sunset, and get midday light. So we need natural light at different times of the day as well. Sleep 7 to 8 hours, ideally. Try to sleep in the dark, blackout curtains, or whoever can tolerate, like sleeping mask. It was for me very, very much like made a very big difference. And then also sleep hygiene is a big topic, especially during perimenopause. Handphones, they don't belong in our bedrooms. And if you need them for the alarm, make sure they are on airplane mode, not just switch them off. No screens idly an hour before you go to bed. So TV screens, laptops, iPads, they should go to bed an hour before you go to bed. Dim the light in the evening time. And if sleep is an issue for you, I think it's worth it to investigate why you can't fall asleep, maybe with a professional, or why you can't stay asleep, because there could be a lot of reasons behind that. Movement. So we like our cardio. A lot of people like cardio. And when you look back like 10, 15 years ago, it was all about treadmill and HIIT training and all this stuff. And that's good. I love it as well. But during perimenopause, strength training gets more of an importance here. And also, and this is often forgotten, stress-reducing movements like the yoga, the walking, the swimming, going in nature, enjoy nature instead of heavy cardio gets like more important during this time. Toxins. This can be a very, very scary topic. And I just want to warn you, because we live in such a toxic super planet, to want or to aim to be perfect in this kind of area can cause more stress than good. And but I think there are a few things. Look for your own low-hanging fruits to reduce these toxins, and you already get very, very far with that. So try to avoid these xenoestrogens as much as possible. Xenoestrogens are substances in the environment which can bind to estrogen receptors. And as you know now, this is the last thing we want, more estrogen kind of responses during perimenopause. So go organic with fruits and vegetables as much as possible. I already mentioned that, because pesticides and herbicides and synthetic hormones in meat are these drivers at the estrogen receptors. Avoid processed food, I already said that, because additives and preservatives and plastics are in all these processed foods. They're often stored in plastic. You don't want that, because the plastic particles can go into the food as well. Avoid canned food, because a lot of these cans are lined with BPA, which is like a xenoestrogen, a hormonal disruptor. Water filters, because many water sources contain hormone disruptors as well, from agricultural runoffs and pharmaceuticals. Ditch your plastic as much as possible. So use containers, water bottles made from stainless steel or glass instead as much as possible. Try to avoid handling paper receipts. A lot of shops nowadays, luckily, they say, okay, do you need your receipt? I would always say, no, please, I don't need it. And if you need it, then try not to touch it too much, because the layers there are very toxic actually and can go through our skin. Cosmetic is like always a big one, because we, us women, we love our cosmetics, at least I do. So, but unfortunately, cosmetics contain a lot of substances which are really nasty stuff. So try to go natural here as well. More and more brands, they also adopt that. Even Sephora now has organic kind of lines. And then also you can check labels. There are wonderful apps like Detox Me or ToxFox, where you can scan your cosmetic or your product and see what is in there. And if you maybe better don't use it. And like also, it's more important for the cosmetic which like stays on your body, like the body lotion or the foundation or the waterproof mascara or like nail polish. Not so great. Whereas a shampoo or a body wash, you wash it off, you can get away with a little bit more here. Perfumes, maybe, especially women who are sensitive to them, maybe use essential oils as an alternative. For cleaning products, use vinegar, baking soda, and also essential oils instead of like the commercial available cleaning products. Avoid Teflon and non-sticky pans as much as possible, because they're really, really toxic. Use stainless steel, cast iron, or ceramic instead, always better than kind of the Teflon. And improve indoor quality if needed by using a good HEPA filter, or house plants like aloe or lilies can absorb toxins. Whoever is sensitive, look into the mold. Like if you discover mold, maybe try to do something about it, get somebody in to help you to remediate and address that. The nervous system support and stress resilience. So you are here in the best hands with our BodyTalk practitioners, because the nervous system support is very, very crucial. And I think I emphasized on this a lot during this talk already. So BodyTalk, mindfulness, breath work, all this for nervous system regulation. Create space for rest and reset, even during a busy day. I don't want to invite anybody to say, okay, you know what, drop your job and then you can't work anymore. This is nonsense. But I think during the job, during your day, your busy day, create these 5 minutes in between where you take a few deep breaths, maybe step out of your office into the sun and enjoy the natural light and stuff like that. It doesn't need to be much. I don't say everybody needs to meditate every day for 1 or 2 hours. It's not feasible for a lot of people, but small things already get you very, very far. Eat in a very kind of, don't eat next to your computers, eat away from it, and then take your breath and enjoy the food mindful. Gut health, extremely important. I think adrenals and gut health is probably the #1 root cause finding and addressing I would do with my clients. We talked about the food already, the fibers, the plant-based, eat the rainbow, support digestion. I talked about the gallbladder already, so which is like often overlooked. And if you have gut problems, it might be a good idea to address a functional or naturopathic practitioner to help you out there. Because we can't forget, just taking probiotics doesn't fix the gut. It's more complicated than that, unfortunately. In terms of the supplements, a few words to them. There are a lot of lovely supplements out there, but same with the lifestyle changes, not every supplement is good for everybody in the same way. So it's quite individual. So whatever helped your best friend or the influencer on Instagram doesn't necessarily is the right thing for you. Still, I would like to name my top kind of supplement picks for women in perimenopause. Let's start with magnesium. I'm a big magnesium fan, and I think everybody needs magnesium, actually. So there are different forms of magnesium. So we have the glycinate, which is very popular for relaxation. The threonate is more for the anxious and sleepless woman. Magnesium taurate is more for people who feel more achy. And so there are all these different formulations of magnesium, and you need to pick the one which is the right thing for you. B-complex. B-complex, the need for B-complex very much depends of our biochemical makeup, but it seems that a lot of women need Bs for processing their hormones, especially when it comes to B6, B5, and NAD for energy, but also B12 is very important. If you do Bs in self-medication, don't overdo it and just use a simple low-dose B-complex. And if you need something more specific, work with a practitioner. Vitamin D and K alongside, very important for bone health and immune system. Here, it's a good idea before you jump into a vitamin D supplement, maybe to check the blood to really understand where is my baseline, and then you can better understand what is my dosing. For maintenance, and generally, I advise 2,000 units per day with some food, because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, the D, both the K and the D. Omega-3s are very important because perimenopause and menopause are inflammatory states, and we need to do something against inflammation. And NSC is very popular for liver support. A lot of people get interested in creatine for muscle building, cognition. It could be looked into, but we can't forget with creatine that it's right. So we need our kidneys to excrete it. So if we overdo a lot of protein and on top like a lot of creatine, we have to like kind of treat our kidneys well. Otherwise it could backfire. A lot of women have benefits from taking collagen for skin and hair. And probiotics important, but as I said before, please don't forget, probiotics don't fix the gut. They are a very nice band-aid, but they don't fix the gut on their own. And last but not least, we have choline. Choline is important for membrane stability and brain fog. For perimenopausal women is one of my favorite kind of supplements to look into. For sleep, women like glycine. Careful when you are more on the anxious type, because glycine might, in some cases, make anxiety worse. Melatonin is very, very popular. 5-HTP, magnesium again, valerian, ashwagandha, or lemon balm are very popular for helping with sleep. And then the last group I want to talk about are herbal allies for hormone support, which I, as a naturopath, of course, absolutely love, because they are so regulating, they are so balancing. And especially when it comes to the early states of perimenopause, when the hormones, when estrogen goes absolutely crazy, they are a very, very good kind of help for women in this state. With herbs as well, I think it's best to work here with a healthcare provider, so he or she can pick the right herb for you. And also, don't forget that herbs are not just herbs and natural, but they are very powerful. And if somebody is on medication, you cannot just take a herb. You need to understand what are the possible interactions here. So we have the chasteberry for more on the progesterone side, the black cohosh for estrogen balancing, maca works on estrogen and androgen, red clover for estrogen as well, hop for estrogen as well, estrogen support. Dong quai, very popular, is also more on the estrogenic side. But don't forget, if I say that, it's still regulating, right? It's not like an estrogen is a bioidentical hormone. And my personal favorite women's herb is Alchem Miller. It's ladies' mental. It's very, very popular in Europe, in Germany. We use it a lot because it's wonderful. It's balancing throughout a woman's life. It's always the right pick. In general, I would put it a little bit more on the progesterone side as well. Sage is good for night sweats. Milk thistle and jarrow are good for liver support. Jarrow is, by the way, also hormonal balancing and works more on the progesterone side of things. Hawthorn, helpful if you have heart palpitations, like for cardiovascular support. And of course, our good friends adaptogens, they support the adrenals. They help with stress and mood and sleep. Ashwagandha, rhodiola, schisandra. Saffron can help with mental health. And St. John's wort, very famous for when somebody has kind of mild depression. But be careful, if somebody is on SSRI, hands off St. John's wort, because this can be very, very dangerous. I love to work with chemotherapy. This is a special kind of form of herbal therapy. And chemotherapy is made from the buds of the plant. These are the embryonic tissue of a plant with a lot of powerful enzymes and a lot of powerful substances. It's amazing. And we would use raspberry buds or cranberry buds, which are both hormonal balancing, and the oak bark I love for stress, because it helps us to get a better stress resilience. And when you look at the oak, like this powerful tree, then you understand why it's a good pick here. And last but not least, one word to HRTs. If nothing really helped, if you have done your gut and your adrenals and your liver and your diet and lifestyle is perfect and you did everything in terms of cleaning up and you still feel so horrible, there's bioidentical hormones, can be your best friends. I love them. They are very, very helpful. Go to somebody, a gynecologist, who are trained in bioidentical hormone therapy, and then do the important tests to rule out any risks. And for a lot of women, they are a game changer and make their lives so much better again. Thank you so very much for listening to my talk. I hope there was something in for you. I hope you got some more information and learned new things. And you can reach out anytime if you have any questions. Have a wonderful rest of your day and thank you. Bye bye.